My rich boss can give me everything. You're just a broke loser playing the victim. My wife mocked me after she and her lover made me lose my job and my kids. But fate turned when someone helped me expose every crime they tried to bury. The day I slid my last box into a cheap storage unit, my phone lit up with Clara's message. You will die poor and alone. I was still staring at those words when I noticed a hard black briefcase on the floor with my full name on the tag. Inside were 30 thick stacks of euros and a note that read, "This is only travel money. The real fortune is at these coordinates." That was the moment I stopped drowning and started hunting. My name is Martine. I'm 37 years old, and until recently, I proudly introduced myself as a route planner at a logistics company. It was a nice way of saying that I made Excel spreadsheets, maps, and that I got yelled at when the trucks were late. I'm the father of Nico, 9, and Sophia, 6. If anyone asked about me, I would say, I work a lot, but I make it to the school events and I make pancakes on Sundays. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Clara, my wife, was always more about the glamour. A hairdresser by training, then a makeup assistant, then a content creator on Instagram. She was doing well, not getting rich, but they sent her creams and coffees and sometimes clothes. I found it amusing that packages arrived at our house daily. It's for a collaboration, she would say, and I would nod with a smile. The first Sunday in June, we went to the company's annual party. I didn't want to go, but my children were promised hamburgers and a bouncy castle. Clara insisted on wearing a red dress. I'm clumsy with clothes. I wore the shirt that doesn't wrinkle much. We won't be long. Okay, I told Clara. I'm just going for Nico and Sophie. Relax, Martine, she answered, looking at herself in the elevator mirror. You're always tense about these things. The party, as always, was in the largest warehouse, the one with the white tarp and the repainted logo. The bosses bring out the cava, play 80s music, and give a speech about the second family. I knew the jokes of the general manager, Javier, that young guy with a face like he's never had a bad day in his life. This time, when he appeared, people almost applauded. Javier showed up in a white shirt with rolled-up sleeves and a watch that could buy my car 3 times over. Martine, he shouted from afar. Come, I'll introduce you to some people. I went with the smile of sure, why not? I wanted to point out my children who were already running towards the bouncy castle, but Javier was already looking elsewhere. And this is your wife? He said when Clara approached. A pleasure, Javier. Clara, she replied, shaking his hand. She smiled that smile that got me hooked at 23. He held her gaze for a second too long. I noticed. It's not that I'm paranoid. It's that you know the way people look at your wife. You have a good hand with makeup. That's obvious, said Javier. Do you do collaborations? Sometimes. Yes, said Clara. Nothing serious. How strange that no big agency has contacted you. You have a light. That word stuck with me. Light. I was a meter away, and for a second I felt invisible. I forced myself to change the subject, to talk about routes, trucks, how bad the App 6 is on Mondays. Javier smiled at me and looked back at Clara. We have a private event in 2 weeks, he told her. I'll leave my contact in case you want to come and do makeup for some guests. Well paid. Clara took Javier's phone. All normal, I told myself. Networking, I told myself. The party continued. Nico fell from the castle. Sophie stained her white dress with ketchup. I ran for napkins. Clara disappeared for a while. The agency called me, she said when she returned. She thought I was distracted. I wanted to believe her, but I already had that knot in my stomach. The knot you get when something smells burnt and you don't know if it's coming from the oven or from your life. In the car on the way back, I tried to comment. Javier is nice. He's the boss, she said, shrugging. Bosses are nice when they're selling themselves. And the event? Are you going? If they pay well, yes. I don't know, I mean. Don't create a story where there isn't one. She cut me off. Let's not start. I didn't want to start. I wanted to take a nap with my children watching cartoons. But that afternoon, while Clara was uploading a story with a butterfly filter, I felt the first pull on the thread. If you pull it, the sweater unravels. If you don't pull it, it bothers you all afternoon. I told myself, don't pull, Martine. I didn't pull. At least not that day. For you to understand, I have to go back a bit. We weren't rich. We paid a mortgage, a small car, school lunches. My salary from the company and the extras for overtime were enough to cover things, not always on time. Last year we went through our savings because of a water leak that destroyed our kitchen. 3 months of construction, 3 months of eating out, 3 months of arguments over dust on the furniture and poorly made budgets. I can't live halfway, Martine, Clara told me one night. I don't want to spend my life waiting for the money to be enough. I don't like it either, I replied. But I work a lot. It's not just work, it's ambition. I didn't know what to say. 2 weeks later, Clara started going out more. A meeting with an agency, photos with a brand. A brunch for female entrepreneurs. I stayed with the children without it being a drama. I like being with them. Nico loves maps. Sophie loves animals. I was excited that they could see their father knew something about the world. But I started to notice that Clara would arrive with gifts, perfumes, sometimes flowers. From the brand. She would say, and I would nod. I didn't want to be the controlling husband. I didn't want to be the one who checks the phone. I never checked. I kept telling myself, trust. At work, meanwhile, Javier started asking me for strange things. Change that route. Pass by the Torrejon warehouse first. Don't log this pallet. It goes separately. Bring me this flash drive, please. Don't leave it on the server. I, who am very much about doing things by the book, was uncomfortable. But he was my boss, and he spoke to me with that voice of, you and I know how the world works. I would say yes and leave with anxiety. Rafa, my colleague, would look at me out of the corner of his eye. Everything okay, Martine? He asked me one afternoon. You seem weird. I don't know. They're asking me for strange things. If it's strange, document it. Send emails to yourself. You never know. I didn't listen to him. I wrote it down in an old notebook, the one with the black cover. The worst part was when Javier called me to his office. He offered me a bonus for a simple favor. He wanted me to sign as received for some material that hadn't arrived. It arrives tomorrow, no problem, but we need it in the accounting today. I don't like it, I said. I don't like signing for something that hasn't arrived. You don't like the bonus? He replied with a smile. Everyone likes a good bonus. Think about your kids. Christmas, toys, that sort of thing. I remained silent. I signed. I left in disgust, but with an extra 500 euros. I convinced myself it was an advance. I convinced myself it was going to arrive. Everything arrived okay. The disgust remained. Clara, meanwhile, went to Javier's event. She did make up for some guests. She came back late. She said everything went well. That work flows when there are people who trust you. I asked point blank to Kilda, was Javier there? Yes, of course, it's his event. Did he say anything to you? That I have a light. Silence. I want to take a shower. I told myself, don't be a child. Don't make a scene. But I started paying attention to the schedules. I started staying later at the office so I wouldn't have to see her back in bed looking at her phone. This is ugly, but real. We slept together, but there was an invisible wall. I thought, she'll get over it. One Thursday, Javier spoke to me again. On Monday, I need you to make a personal delivery to a villa in La Moraleja. Don't put anything in the system. I'll send you the details on WhatsApp. On WhatsApp? I said, swallowing. You know I shouldn't. Do you trust me or not? It wasn't a question, it was a disguised order. I went. I left a small box. Nobody opened the door. I was told, doorman, leave it with security. Done. The next day, Human Resources called me. We need to talk, Martine. I sat down with a woman I didn't know. She had a file. Printed photos of routes, signatures, emails. This is serious, she told me. Irregularities have been detected in your management. Signatures for material not received, unauthorized detours, deliveries outside of protocol. The world buzzed in my ears. I felt heat on the back of my neck. Excuse me, I don't do anything that Javier. Don't involve the director. She cut me off. This is your signature. This is your responsibility. Javier asked me to. I have the WhatsApp messages. We don't have access to your chats. What we have is this, and this forces us to terminate your contract. I signed a paper. I didn't know exactly what I was signing. I left with my box. That ridiculous cardboard box with a cactus, 2 mugs, and the black-covered notebook. I stopped at the door. Rafa came over. What happened? They fired me. What? He just hugged me. I called Clara in the car. She didn't answer. I texted her. I just got fired. Scene. Silence. I sat in the seat for an hour staring at the steering wheel. In the afternoon, when she arrived, Clara had that "don't get me involved in your drama's" face. What did you do, Martine? Nothing. I did what Javier asked me to. They framed me. Don't bring Javier into this. He doesn't do dirty things. How do you know? Because he's smart, she said as if she had the right to know. He's not going to risk his company over nonsense. What do you have to do with Javier? I asked bluntly. Tell me. Do you owe me that? I don't owe you anything, she said. And that's when my hand trembled. I'm tired of your victim mentality, your mediocrity, your excuses. I asked you to support me for 5 minutes, I whispered. I lost my job. I don't want to lose my life. We didn't sleep that night. A week later, Clara moved out. I'm going to my mother's with the kids until you get over it, she said. It wasn't her mother's. I knew from the smell of a perfume that isn't a mother's. I knew because Nico asked me, are we going to see Javier's house? I choked. Who told you that, Nico? Mom said Javier has a pool. I called Clara. We argued like animals. You left with him. Don't you dare, she said. Don't you dare play the victim. The lawyers started. The papers started. The bill started. The mortgage doesn't pay itself without a job. I fell behind. The bank called me. Get up to date, or we'll start proceedings. I was racking my brain looking for a job. We'll call you when we have something. Meanwhile, I was seeing pictures of Clara in restaurants with dishes I can't pronounce. Are you going to move in with him? I asked her in a mediation session. I'm living there, she said dryly. And the children are fine. Javier has space. There was no way to compete with a house with a pool and a father who lost his job for irregularities. No, there was no trial. There were agreements. Visitation schedules. Financial collaboration, with what? I looked at my numbers and felt like throwing up. The day the eviction notice arrived, I sat on the floor. I called my sister Paula. Come home, she said. You can stay with me. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden to anyone. You're the one being dragged down. I didn't go. I was ashamed. I sold the car for what they gave me. What they gave me wasn't enough for the arrears. I paid a part. The bank proceeded anyway. It took me a while to believe it was real. I saw myself signing with a serious guy who didn't even look me in the eye. I saw myself taking out boxes in garbage bags because I no longer had cardboard boxes. I saw myself with Nico hugging me and saying, Dad, don't cry. I nodded my head, biting my lips. I didn't want them to remember me like that. Clara texted me the same day I left the apartment. I didn't call. I didn't want shouting. A short message. Your obligation is to pay child support. Let's see if you fulfill something for once. I replied, I'm looking for a job. Give me a week. She answered with a 1-minute 48-second audio message. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I only heard, excuses. You've always been small. Javier delivers. Then the message came that was engraved on my chest like a tattoo. You will die poor and alone. I read it 3 times. I thought, you can't write that to the father of your children. But she wrote it. That day I took my things to a cheap storage unit I found in an industrial park next to the M40, a place with sheet metal corridors and gray doors. I paid for 1 month in advance with what I had left. The guy at the reception, Don Luis, looked at me with a, I know who you are face. All sorts of people end up here. Don't worry, he said. This is temporary for many people. I smiled gratefully. We put my boxes on a cart. My world in 4 boxes. One with clothes, another with papers, another with toys I didn't want to leave behind, another with a coffee maker and a couple of plates. When I opened the door of the assigned storage unit, I saw something that wasn't mine, a hard black briefcase with a name written on a white label. Martín. That's not mine, I told Don Luis. Well, it shouldn't be here, he frowned. Let's see. He bent down to look at it. How long has this been here? He asked as if the briefcase would answer. I'm sorry, Luis. I can't deal with any more mysteries today. If it has your name on it, it must be for you. Look, the label had my first name and both my last names, not a single one wrong. The lock had a code, 0-0-0-0. I don't like opening other people's things, but if it's mine, open it, said Luis. What if it's a bad joke? If it explodes, at least we'll be on TV, he tried to joke. I was in no mood for jokes. I tried 0-0-0-0. It didn't work. I tried 1-2-3-4. Nothing. I tried my date of birth. Nothing. Luis brought me a tool. Don't worry, I won't ask, he said. Nobody asks here. I inserted the tip, pried it open, my hand was shaking. I felt pleasure and guilt when the lock gave way. Inside were stacks of bills wrapped with rubber bands. Euros. The smell of paper and ink hit me with a dose of reality. My eyes had never seen so many together. On top of the stacks, an envelope. I took a deep breath. I opened it. Inside, a printed sheet with a sentence in capital letters. This is only money for the trip. The real fortune awaits you at a designated place. Below was an instruction. Consult the attached map. Signed, C. What? Said Don Luis, peering at the bills. My goodness. My brain made a noise. I closed the briefcase. Don't touch that, Martine, Luis told me. Put that in here, so no one sees it. Who is doing this to me? I asked aloud. Is it Javier? Is it a trap? Is it Clara playing with me? Don't leave this here, Luis told me. If they want to steal it from you, they will. I went to the hallway bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like someone who had aged overnight. I didn't know if I was involved in something illegal, if they were going to use me as a mule, if they were going to take pictures of me. I thought of my children. I thought of the phrase, this is only money for the trip. A trip to where? Those coordinates? I took out my phone. I put the numbers into the map. Someone had selected a point in an industrial park near Alcobendas, an abandoned warehouse behind a paint factory. C.D. What's C? D. Clara. C for Caballero, C for accountant. My notebook. I took out my black-covered notebook. In my notes, the letter C appeared a couple of times in the orders Javier gave me. Delivered to C in Torrejon. Pick up from C in Coslada. Always C. I never asked. Luis, I'm leaving. I said. Are you crazy? He became alarmed. You're going now? I'm afraid if I wait, I'll regret it. I put the briefcase in a large backpack. I covered it with a sweatshirt. I lowered my head in the hallway so no one would see my face. Outside, the afternoon sun hit my forehead. I walked to the bus stop. I don't have a car. I wasn't going to spend €1 on a taxi. I sat with the backpack clutched against my body. I thought about the possibility of this blowing up in my face. Literally and metaphorically. I reached the area in an hour and 10 minutes. I walked for 20 minutes between warehouses with graffiti and dogs barking behind fences. The exact point led me to a rusty side door that had a padlock. The padlock was open. My heart raced. I pushed. Inside, the smell of dust and old oil. Hello, I said, just in case someone was there. Silence. The echo of my sneakers. The warehouse had light coming in through holes in the roof. I walked to where the map indicated. A glass office with broken blinds. On the desk, an old laptop, a yellow envelope, and a blue post-it note stuck to the screen with a sentence. Welcome, Martine. And then I saw it. On the back wall, a huge corkboard with papers, photos, diagrams, arrows, dates, note after note in a firm hand. In the center, a photo of Javier. To the left, printed photos of Clara in large glasses entering a building with him. To the right, copies of company documents with my signature. Next to it, a clipping with my name. Employee fired for fraud. I understood everything. Or at least, I understood that someone had done their homework before I did. They were using me as a puppet, and someone wanted me to see how. I stood there for a minute with weak legs. I wanted to run away. I wanted to sit down and cry. Instead, I sat in the chair of the makeshift office. I opened the laptop. It asked for a password. I looked at the blue post-it note. Below, welcome, Martine, were 4 numbers. My date of birth. I tried it. It opened. On the desktop, there was only one folder. Read first. I hyperventilated. I opened it. Inside, a PDF file with a letter. Martine, we don't know each other. You can call me C. I worked for Javier for years. I was his accountant. I know how the monster works from the inside. They framed you because they needed someone naive with a clean signature and an honest face. Sorry for the word, but I can't find another. I saved things, copies, photos, messages, recordings, everything you need to report this and come out clean, everything the prosecutor's office needs to make a move. I didn't do it before because I was the one who would go to jail. Now you can because they already sacrificed you on the altar. I managed my own exit. They destroyed you. The money in the briefcase is not Javier's. It's yours, yes, but recovered from a slush fund. It's not marked. It's what they owe me, what they owe many of us. Don't buy a car. Pay a lawyer. Get a place to sleep. Buy yourself some legal armor. Then use the rest to get to these coordinates and follow the instructions. Do 3 things. 1. Copy everything onto 2 flash drives. One for a lawyer, another for a journalist. I have already contacted someone at the newspaper that can't be bought. 2. Don't tell Clara anything. She is not the victim. She chose to be a part of it. I have proof. I know it hurts. I know you want to believe otherwise. Now is not the time to believe, it's the time to know. 3. Don't look for me. I've already looked for enough trouble for myself. I'm going to disappear. I'm not a hero. I'm scared of everything, but I'm more scared of letting Javier get away with it. I'm doing this for me, for you, and for all those who signed papers with their eyes closed. Good luck. See, I swallowed. I felt heat in my face. I looked at the corkboard. I looked at the photos. There were chat screenshots. Messages from Javier to Clara. Make sure he's out of the house today when you come. Your husband never suspects. / I need you to plant the idea in his head that he has to sign. Tell him the family needs the bonus. And replies from Clara. He always thinks about the children. It's easy. I got up. I touched the wall. I wanted to tear everything down. I wanted to break things. Instead, I took a breath and started doing what the letter said. There were 2 flash drives in the yellow envelope. There were instructions for a backup copy. There was even a list of addresses of labor lawyers who are not afraid to touch people with money. I recorded everything. Seeing the names, the movements, the duplicate invoices, the digital signatures, left me frozen. There were exact dates, mountains of emails, recordings of Javier's meetings with 2 businessmen, a video of him receiving an envelope, my stomach in my throat, then a whole folder of social, photos of Clara and him in a hotel, in the same room, the same lamp. I had that lamp in my retina. I wanted to close that tab. I didn't want to see her, but I saw her leaning on his shoulder, him looking in the mirror. Okay, I told myself. Enough. Do your thing. I called Paula. I need your help, I said. And don't ask me too much over the phone. Tell me where you are, my sister said. She picked me up in an old Dacia that doesn't ask too many questions. She brought empanadas. I wasn't hungry. She made me eat. What have you done, Martine? They framed me. I have proof. I have something big. I have 40,000 euros in a backpack and I fear for my safety. Great, she said, the complete package. She wasn't laughing. She said it with that gentle irony that saved me more than once. We went to the house of a lawyer friend of hers, Bullen. She received us in her living room with a dog that had no desire to bark. Tell me everything slowly, said Bullen, and put it in writing. What is not written does not exist. I told her. I showed her. She kept the flash drives in a small cloth bag as if they were drugs. Don't call anyone else, she said. From now on, I make the calls. We're going to the anti-corruption prosecutor's office first thing tomorrow morning. Before that, I want to secure all this with a notary, and we're going to send a copy to the journalist. If they find out from us, they listen to us. If they find out from Javier, they bite us. I slept on Paula's couch. Slept, that's a figure of speech. I lay down with my eyes open and the ceiling spinning. I thought of Nico and Sophie. I thought of Clara. I thought of Javier. I imagined horrible things. I thought of the message, you will die poor and alone. I clung to Paula's dog, who had climbed up being a pest. The next morning, I signed papers at a notary's office. Bullen made me write a brief and firm letter. She registered it. Let's go to the prosecutor's office. A man with glasses listened to me without expression. He told me, we will study it. Bullen pressured him. He said, leave this here. We left with a stamped paper. One leg is missing, said Bullen. The journalist has to come out. If it comes out, they hurry up. We wrote to the email address that C had left. They answered us in half an hour. We met in a cafeteria in Lavapiés. A young girl with eyes that see everything came. I explained. I gave her the flash drive. She asked me many questions. Can you give your name? She asked. Yes, I said with a voice I didn't recognize. Do you know they'll come after you? They already have, I replied. 2 days later, it exploded. Headline: Ex-accountant leaks evidence of network of false invoices and money laundering in logistics company. Key testimony: employee fired for irregularities accuses CEO. My face pixelated. My name with initials. Javier in a suit photo. Clara didn't appear. Only close to the CEO. I read the article with my breath held in my throat. Messages poured in. Rafa wrote to me. Bro, you're brave. We all knew things here, but nobody dared. My mother called me crying. My father, who rarely expresses an opinion, said, good. Clara wrote me a what did you do? Without emojis. I didn't answer. 3 days later, the police went to the company. The television showed images of sealed trucks. Javier appeared in a photo getting into a black car with a face that looked like he hadn't slept for the first time. I was called by the prosecutor's office to expand my testimony. I went, Bullen by my side. I spent hours. I left with a backache and a strange feeling, not of victory, but of having done something that not many do. The lawyer grabbed my shoulder. Now for the personal stuff, she said. Custody, child support, urgent measures. Take advantage of the favorable wind. And problems will come, but now you have an umbrella. At Paula's house, one night my phone rang. Clara's number. I didn't answer. Audio. I listened to half of it out of masochistic curiosity. She was crying. Why did you do that? She was saying. You're going to drag us all down. Javier says you made it all up. I found a bit of courage I didn't know I had. From now on, everything through lawyers, I wrote to her. For the children, for me, for everyone. No more audios. She replied with insults. I silenced her. With the 40,000, Bullen made me a plan. No crazy stuff. 6,000 for a deposit and 3 months rent for a small, but decent studio. 2,500 to sleep with a clear conscience and eat. 8,000 to pay her and a solicitor. 2,000 for a laptop because my laptop was from another era. Keep a cushion. The rest in separate envelopes with my name on them, kept in a safe at Paula's house. I went back to the storage unit to drop off one last box. Don Luis stopped me with a cheap coffee. How's it going, Martín? At least now I'm not afraid to look at myself in the mirror, I told him. That's a good one. And the briefcase? What was inside took me to a place where I understood things. Don't tell me any more, said Luis. I'll just say this, don't go back into the hole. Shortly after, a TV journalist called me. He wanted me to talk. I said no. I don't want to be famous. I want to get my children back. We filed for shared custody. We filed complaints about Clara's connection to an investigated person. It wasn't simple. Judges don't take things for granted. We had hearings, reports. My children, on video call, told me they wanted to come to my house. I told them, soon. One afternoon, Nico asked me with his painful 9-year-old voice, Dad, is Javier bad? He's an adult who did bad things, I told him. You don't have to hate anyone. Just take care of your heart. And Mom. I didn't know what to answer. I said the only thing I could. Mom made decisions. I'm making mine. A week later, the judge issued provisional measures, alternate weekends, and one afternoon during the week. It's not what I want, but it's progress. I started a new job, temporary, at another small courier company. They don't pay me like before, but I feel like I can breathe. My boss looks me in the eyes. They ask me things, please. I can sleep. One night, checking my emails, I got a mail from an address I didn't know. Subject, C. The tax agency will call you. The thing about informants doesn't legally exist like in the movies, but you'll get something. The real fortune wasn't money. It was being able to look at yourself in the mirror again without disgust. I don't know if that's useful to you. It is to me. See, I laughed to myself. I realized I hadn't laughed in a long time. Yes, the real fortune wasn't in the briefcase, although the briefcase helped. The real fortune was something else. And it was also in a paper with a prosecutor's stamp, in seeing Javier with the face of a mortal in a photo. Weeks later, Clara asked to see me. Not at my house, in a cafeteria. I didn't go alone. I went with Bullen. Clara arrived wearing sunglasses as if it were a cloudy Tuesday. I need you to lower the child support, she said. Sonola, I'm spending a lot on a lawyer. Talk to Bullen, I told her. Everything needs to be through a lawyer. She tried to use her soft voice from before. Yes, I replied. It needs to be. You're being cruel to me. I'm setting boundaries, I told her. Cruel was that message. Cruel is you telling my children that Javier has a better pool than the park. She looked at me as if she didn't know me. I understood that she didn't know me. Maybe she never knew me, or maybe she knew me and didn't like me. It wasn't my problem. Not anymore. I don't know if I'll ever write an ending where everyone ends up hugging. This is not that ending. This is one where I learn to say no. Where I learn not to sign things that smell bad, even if they offer you a Christmas bonus. Where I learned that support is not negotiable, that love without respect is a hole, and that you can get out of the hole with papers, with truth, and with help. Dad, when are we sleeping at your house? Sophie asked me one Saturday with a backpack bigger than her. Today, I replied. We have pizza, blankets, and a bad movie. The three of us got into a tiny studio with big laughs. We laughed at a silly movie. We made a fort with sheets. Sophie fell asleep with her mouth open. Nico rested his head on my shoulder. I stared at the ceiling, this time without it spinning. I thought of C. I thought of Louise from the storage unit. I thought of Bullen, who was going to be well paid. I thought of my sister who fed me when I was choking on my pride. I thought of Clara, who was no longer my problem. I thought of Javier, who now had to answer to people who can't be bought with dinners. The moral is clear to me now. Nobody rescues you if you don't decide you deserve to get out, and nobody makes you dirty again if you decide not to sign, not to be silent. Setting boundaries is not punishing the other person. It's protecting yourself. Today I still work in courier services, but I no longer work overtime to impress anyone. I go to the school. I listen to my children. I pay what I can with what I have. There are bad days. There are emails from lawyers. There are letters from the bank. But there is no more shame in looking at myself. The briefcase thing changed me, not the amount of bills that are almost gone. It changed me to know that there are people who do the right thing in silence. She gave me a push. I walked. I don't keep track of who hurt me. I keep track of who I will never open the door of my house or my life to again. The real fortune was at those coordinates. Yes, it was in opening a rusty door and understanding that they had painted me as the culprit to cover up something else. It was in having proof, in knowing I wasn't crazy. It was in getting my voice back. If anyone is in the same situation, I just say this. Save the emails. Talk to a lawyer. Talk to your sister. Don't sign out of fear, and above all, don't believe the words of anyone who wants to see you down. Let the only message that guides you be the one you say to yourself in a low voice when you close your eyes. I'm not what they did to me. I'm what I've decided to do now.